Fortunately, competition is either passing away or retiring. So we're getting so busy that we now have the larger challenge of saying no to clients that their cars we don't want to work on.
We did 97,000 yesterday across 5 stores, which is pretty cool. You need A players to get A results. You got to set that expectation. If you're going to come on the bus, we're not going to slack around and play games. We're going to have fun. We're going to like each other, but nobody's getting a free ride.
The sense of urgency isn't really anywhere in my state. It's kind of crazy. Anywhere else I go to, especially shop fix meetings and whatever it may be, you got guys that just hustle their butt off. In my state, it's just, I either need to get a cattle prod or a lot of Red Bull.
I was in debt up to my eyeballs running different business models, and in less than a year's time, just paid back millions of dollars of debt. Have already put millions of dollars in the bank. Have changed the lives of most of all of my teammates.
We take in every car that comes through the door, when it goes to leave, the floorboard's been vacuumed out of it, door jam's been wiped, there's a gift in the center, and the cup holder compartment in the center of the car, because you're delivering an experience. It doesn't cost much to give them that experience.
Our buddy Charlie in Boston has 2 bays with 4 lifts and does over $400,000 a month out of one location with just 4 lifts and 2 bays. Crammed in there, no parking, no excuses, just relentless execution of the concept.
All fair game. We're going to have a lot of fun today during the Garage Grit podcast. Welcome for being a part of this. I'm your host, co-owner of AA Shop Marketing. And, we're many shop owners are trying to figure out how to grow grow quickly. And, so they come to me as a marketing guy and say, what do I need to do? And I only have part of the equation. Like I can make the phone ring, but that is not by itself going to help you scale your shop. And so today's panel is going to be about how to scale your shop, how to scale it quickly. And so there's a bunch of different ideas from coaches, from just shop owners like the 4 that we have here today. And we're going to be sharing stories and asking each other questions. And guys, I forgot to mention this before we actually went live, but just to remind you guys, this is not an interview of me to you. It's a conversation among the 4 of you. So I want you to interview each other. I want you to have this conversation. Let's all pretend that we're in the hotel lobby with Mr. Templin there, and we're just sitting around having a conversation, drinking, I don't know, lattes? What do they drink over there, Brad?
I would say they drink exactly what we drink, except supposedly, I don't know if they're being funny. I'm up in Nova Scotia. They're saying Canada right now is not bringing in too much bourbon because of tariffs. And I will say I've not seen anything say bourbon. It has all been Canadian whiskey.
Okay.
But I'll take it. We've had a few smoked old fashions over here, so.
Well, this is not my recommendation, but there's not a wall on the northern border. That can probably be fixed by somebody. Not me, but I'm that's not a suggestion. I'm not recommending that. I'm just, pointing out an observation. So anyway, all right. Well, so here's what we're going to do, guys. We're going to do a quick round robin. I want you guys to share a little bit about yourself and the shop that you have, the size of the shop that you have, or the locations that you have. Give us some basic, so we have a good understanding. And when you do it, also share some of the population information on some of the shops, the locations that you have, as far as the population density. Is it rural, or is it, like people are on top of each other? You tell me. So since we've got, actually, let's do it this way. I'm going to just go according to the way you're laid out on my screen. Chris, how about if you start us off and share with us a little bit about your shop and where you're at?
Okay, happy to. If you go on our 20th year this year, single shop owner, we're actually having 3 more bays installed Thursday and Friday, or 3 more lifts, I should say, not bays. We'll be 10 lifts at that point complete in a new location that we just moved into recently. So a lot of moving pieces. I've moved now twice, this one being way more challenging than the last one. I'm doing well. I'm in Berkeley, California, so population's definitely in my favor for sure. We're also in an area where grandfathering is the only way you get a shop in anymore. So fortunately, competition is either passing away or retiring. So we're getting so busy that we now have the larger challenge of saying no to clients that their cars we don't want to work on. That sounds maybe a little snobby, and I don't mean it in a bad way. There's certain clients that deserve your time, and there's certain clients that can't afford your time. And that's now our hardest challenge, is separating the two. We have a little bit of a parking issue right now. So what is the issue? Parking restriction that we're working on and trying to master. So we've had to kind of bring out the sifter, so to speak, and kind of refine the business even more to find the clients that have the time, the inclination, and the desire to fix the car, pick up the car, move on with their life, versus those that are, in need of a favor or needed a hand.
Yeah.
I do miss being able to help those folks. I really do. That's kind of where our business started. But Berkeley is getting so expensive. Our local dealership is $350 an hour, or $250 for repair and $300 for diagnostic.
Yeah, no, that
really
sounds like a
expensive.
thankful thing to be. I mean, be grateful for the dealer, trying to charge them upward of 400, right? I mean, that sounds fun. It's a
The
great
real complaint is
opportunity.
also our local dealer is a box full of people that don't seem like they want to be there, to be polite about it. So they make our job even easier. But no, yeah. So kind of got off subject there. But yeah, no, great population, good college town. Obviously, we don't do much marketing to Cal Berkeley, but we have a large following with the
Good.
Asian crowd there. We get a lot of clients that just walk in the door and say that my friend told me to come here, and it's people that really don't speak much English. So I take that as a huge compliment. But no, we're doing well. A bajillion
Well, I would imagine the
reviews.
walk-ins are going to be part of your scaling challenge, but we'll get to that. Quinton, how about if you go next? Tell us a little bit about your shop and the area that you're in.
We're right outside Baltimore, Maryland. We're 4 bays, 4 technicians. Getting ready to expand to add a little more room, just in order to produce a little bit more revenue.
Well, you say ready to expand. You're already in the process of adding a second building that is still going to be. You're going to still advertise the current location, but that second building is going to allow for a lot of scaling.
Correct. And that's
Yep.
so Friday is actually when my attorney sits down and signs the paperwork on that building. So I don't have to be there.
Still in process. Yep. Got it. Rob, take a turn. Tell us where you're at and what you're doing.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Rob Eskew here, Atlanta, Georgia. Just sold one of our stores last week, actually. So we went from 6 down to 5.
Well, that sounds like the
Started-
opposite of scaling.
We'll get into that. So
Okay, good.
2 of our stores do about over 400,000 a month. 2 do over 300,000, and the 5th one is around 150. Got about 80 employees and do about 2,000 cars a month. So, looking forward to the discussion today.
Nice. Brad, take a turn.
Sorry, we're in Metro Atlanta, so cars are stacked on top of cars, and definitely not rural or anything like that. So,
And it's the northern section of Atlanta, right? The northern side of Atlanta.
correct. Yeah, we're across the northern Metro Atlanta suburbs.
Yep. All right. Scott's You Save. Go ahead. Tell me.
All right, let's roll. Brad Templin with Scott's You Save. I'm our COO. This is our 45th year, so we got some celebrations going on in Q3. November is technically our anniversary date. 4 stores. We do about 2.6 average out of each store. We do tires as well, so a little higher car count, a little lower ARO. We do anything and everything. So I joke if it doesn't involve paint, we do it. And yeah, my dad was the one who started the business, started with a 2-bay gas station. 4 stores now, right now, trying to get through LOAs with 2 people we're talking to about taking them over and acquiring them. And from there, just keep rolling, but blessed with a really good team to do that. That'll probably be a lot what I talk about today.
All right. Well, good. All right. Well, now that we got the introductions done, let's actually get into the nitty gritty. I would imagine, like when each of you were talking, I had some ideas. I was like, wait, what about this? What about this? But I wanted to let each of you finish before, and then that way we could cycle through everybody before I jumped in. You probably felt the same way. If there's a question that you wanted to ask anybody, I'm still back to with Chris, like I'm thinking that the walk-ins are stopping you from actually actively scaling. I'm thinking that's actually a disruptor to your schedule, and it's going to prevent you from going far quickly. How about Brad and Rob? How often do you guys do walk-ins? How often do you allow for just random stuff to just kind of interrupt the schedule? Maybe you love it. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll speak first to that. I love the yes model.
about exactly a year ago, we started doing what's known as the rack attack process. So we've got a dedicated team in Bay 1, as we call it, to inspect vehicles, to find the customer's concern as quickly as possible and get that information over to them, ideally in under 15 minutes. So we can essentially say yes to everyone, and get them that information, and obviously get them a sale and get them a ride home. And, that's what's been a huge contributor to our success. Obviously, it's the Todd Hayes business
So
model.
rack one, real quick, rack one, like, doesn't fix any cars. It's just dedicated for diag. And once it's diagnosed, it comes off the rack and moved out, waiting for the customer to say yes, and then moved back into a different rack for a different technician to fix it. Your
100%.
diag guy is a dedicated diag guy that's just doing churning diags.
Essentially, it'll be the manager. We try to treat everything like a team sport. So essentially, it's the manager working in Bay 1. He might have 1 or 2 GSs, but imagine a NASCAR pit crew, right? So everyone's attacking that car. We jokingly say it's not the rack and chill, not the rack and go to lunch. It's the rack attack. So as soon as that car comes in, you're finding the gotta have. We do the same inspection every car every time to standardize it. So that way, every car gets the same treatment. Oftentimes in our prior iterations of the business, one technician likes doing axles. So he's going to quote axles on all the cars. Whereas another technician's like, oh, I don't like axles. I'm not going to even recommend that. So now we can inspect that vehicle unbiasedly. And then once we sell that work, distribute it to the technicians that specialize in that technical work. It's a really cool process. I wish I could say I made it up. Again, giving shout out to Todd Hayes and the Auto Shop Answers guys. It's life-changing. It's been a blessing.
Rob, if I can jump in and ask you a question. When you do this rack attack, I'm assuming you're just trying to find their specific problem quickly and get them that answer. And then anything else you do once they leave, and you've obviously got the car in their possession, or your possession, that is.
Yeah, are you doing the full DVI in those 15 minutes, or is that a separate time?
Absolutely. So it's really cool. Like, I'm already smiling telling y'all about it, but essentially it's the same inspection every car, every time. So the car pulls in, you pop the hood, you do the motor mount test, check the battery, check the filters, inspect for any kind of visual oil leaks, anything like that, any coolant leaks, etc. Then you lift the car halfway, you do a mid-rise inspection, checking the suspension, tires. We blast the wheels off every car, every time. So that way you can get really good in there. The better the inspection, the better the documentation, the higher the close ratio. Then we do the full rise inspection. We'll see if there's anything else underneath the vehicle. We scan the Carfax history. So that way we know all the, what we call base 3 or factory scheduled services that need to be done. And essentially we extract all the data out of the vehicle as quickly as possible, so that then we can present it to the customer in a nice, neat, orderly manner. But again, kicking that car out and pulling the next car in. If you figure you got 8 hours in a day, 4 cars an hour, you can see 35 to 40 cars a day running this process. And, average $1,000 per ticket, you can start banging out what we call 40 burgers. And you hit 40K.
What's the 40 burger? I got to ask.
40 burgers. So we got 20 hot dogs, 30 burgers, 40 burgers is, there's little metrics when you hit 20K, 30K, 40K per day per location. So we did 97,000 yesterday across 5 stores, which is pretty cool.
I like your sense of urgency. It's one thing I'm definitely lacking in my business big time. The California thing obviously adds a little bit of a twist, right? I don't have that ability to do, I do California flat rate, but not true flat rate. So I still have 8 hours a day. And with that said, our area does breed kind of prima donna technicians. I don't mean that I disrespect people in California. I love my state. I love my guys to death. But the sense of urgency isn't really anywhere in my state. It's kind of crazy. Anywhere else I go to, especially shop fix meetings and whatever it may be, you got guys that just hustle their butt off. In my state, it's just, I either need to get a cattle prod or a lot of Red Bull, but I like the sense of urgency, because that's something we would benefit from immensely overnight if I could instill that. So,
digital timer in the front of every, and that timer when he pulls things in. We're big on that for diag as well, right? Because here's the thing, you got a good diag guy and they're good, and I appreciate the documentation, but I can't have you realistically spending an hour and 30 minutes or an hour 40 minutes every diag because you love to type all this up and find all these TSBs and put everything in there. It's like, it's great you have that, reference it, but, I don't need an 18-page essay written on there too. And we tell these guys, an hour's what you're getting paid for, don't go over it. Don't give your time away for free either, right?
You do an hour diag, whereas Rob does 15 minutes. But of course, that's multiple people doing that. So it's an hour time in that 15 minutes, Rob?
Well, diag and inspection are two different things, though, too.
Yeah, when I say diag, I mean check engine light, something drivability, something that you need an A-tech on.
Okay. Got it. I'm sorry.
Codes, network codes.
Yeah, we do.
Rob, same thing.
Our intention is to do 45 minutes of inspection, 15 minutes of writing, to try to give them a better grasp on that window. But I haven't really, since the move, we've been officially in the building about 2 weeks now. So I got to get back on just reinstilling what makes us successful. And I like that digital timer. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, similar, Rob. We're not auto sharp answers or anything, but just we started as just tires. We did just tires from 1981 to 93, and that's just still in our blood. And tires is very walk in the door. I need tires. Awesome, we have tires. Come on, So, I mean, it's 5:00 and we close at 5:30. Our guys know, I'll jump through the roof if you tell somebody we can get your tires done tomorrow. We can get your tires done at 5:15, even if that's the case.
Rob, it looked like you had a thought. Let me jump in real quick. Rob, you look like you had a thought before we change subjects. So you wanted to jump in on that 15-minute window, right?
So, yeah, I mean, you're not necessarily going to diagnose the entire car, but what I'm, repeating that I've learned, and it's very true, is, what do technicians hate doing the most, and how do we take that away from them? Technicians hate getting pulled off of sold work to inspect cars when the customer may not even buy. Technicians hate doing oil changes when they have, 10 hours of sold work that they'd rather get done. So what I love about the Auto Shop Answers process is it solves that, right? Chris, you were just saying, how do you get your guys motivated? Well, don't make them do the stuff that they hate doing. Get a dedicated team to inspect that vehicle, if the customer doesn't buy, then just send it to a GS that's only doing oil changes for cars that don't buy. But when you run this process, believe it or not, they're going to buy almost everything because you're delivering it with such speed, such urgency, and such professionalism. They talk about auto hospitality over there, with the Auto Shop Answers guys, and it really is just something you got to come see it. To be honest, once you see it, you can't unsee it, and it's just such a game changer. I mean, it's absolutely changed my life. I was in debt up to my eyeballs running different business models, and in less than a year's time, I've paid back millions of dollars of debt, have already put millions of dollars in the bank, have changed the lives of most of all of my teammates, and it's just true.
It's about.
Yeah, and some people are like, well, I don't want to make a whole bunch of money. Well, you don't have to, but money is really the score of creating value, right? We raise our prices and we get Google reviews all day saying how affordable we are and how great the value is. I can.
Rob, just curious, it would be interesting. Take me back 2 years ago. What were you averaging a month back then before going down to Houston?
Our stretch goal was now nowhere near what our floor is. And so, yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. And not only that, we're actually printing net profit, which is the most important thing. One of the quotes they have out there is, gross without net is gross. So, we used to do a lot of revenue. We did crazy revenue. I remember one of my partners bragging, we did $4 million in revenue in 1 month back under my old partnership. And I'm like, guys, but we didn't make any money. We made no money. Or $4 million. Yeah. And I'm like, who's going to be the one to say that? And they were like, don't say anything. I'm like, I feel like saying something because these are my colleagues. I want to get help. I'm not trying to, pretend like I'm something I'm not here. But that's the biggest thing for me. Is got to make money at the bottom line so you can. If you have an upset customer, just write them a check. Like we're not perfect. You make mistakes. But we do good business, so it's easy to write a check whenever you're actually making money.
As they say, first ship to sink is a partnership.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chris. What was that?
The first ship to sink is a partnership.
Oh, okay. All right. So, Rob, you said about writing a check, and this isn't really directly related to scale, or maybe it is, but if it's an argument between you and the customer, and you're right and the customer's wrong, do you still write that check just to get them out the door so you can move on?
100%.
You need to move on.
100%. So,
okay.
We just did a cool little switcheroo. I love Delta Airlines because, they're probably one of the better, commercial airlines out there. They often don't let the same pilots fly with the same flight attendants and same flight crew. Why is that? One, probably some HR issues. Two, to ensure that everyone's sticking to their process and the standard. And so we just did a cool experiment where we swapped the managers at our two biggest stores just to kind of try to see what kind of standards we can increase and, go from there. And so when this new manager just got to the store, like he's now cleaning up a lot of the laggards, right? Cars we should never have taken in, right? A 79 Mercedes with a $13,000 ticket that's never going to leave. This 80 something Camaro, like we don't work on those. It's got broken bolts and it's like, we got to get it out of here. So in less than a week, we clean up some of these cars that have been here for months. And it's like, at the end of the day, it's like, rip the Band-Aid off, ask the customer what we need to do to make it right. One guy, is just like, well, hey, tell me who I need to go to. And I found him a guy who specializes in 1970 something Mercedes, the other guy, he's like, I didn't approve that. And I'm like, all right, I have every phone call recorded. So full transparency, we can get into the weeds of it. I can pull every phone call, but I'm happy just to give you your money back and we're going to move on. Right. We installed some suspension on his car, some shocks and struts. He said he never approved it. Fine. Moving on. Get him out of here. Make him happy. It's not worth the stress and the headache. Some lady we did work on a year ago, her engine's now blown. She's like, well, I would have never have done that work a year ago. I'm like, you got another 17,000 miles, and we see no record of an oil change even being done in that 17,000 miles. Your engine's failed. But she's wanting some stuff, so I gave her $1,500 back. It's just moving on. But now we can put all of our energy into providing that world-class service, that hospitality, taking care of all these new customers coming in and making money. Moving on.
Okay, but you're going to have trouble doing that. And you just got done talking about how no net profit is gross profit or gross or something like to that, whatever that expression.
Gross revenue without net is gross.
There you go.
Disgusting. Yeah.
And I'm thinking that in your prior situation, writing a $1,500 check for somebody who just drove 17,000 miles without any kind of service intervals would be, you're already bleeding. So like the only reason you're able to do that is because of how much focus you've had on the net to begin with. Right.
And I'll say one of the biggest lessons I learned, and I got to give credit to Bill Broussard and Charlie Zalakos. I'm about to cry. Oh my God. I always cry. We did 1.4 million.
I'm sorry. This is not The View. This is not one of those or Bill or one of those shows. Like that's how this is. But okay,
Well, so we were working really hard, right? Like we started extending our hours, starting to open Saturdays, things like that, and we did 1.4 million in revenue and still made no money. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? And so I'm like, Charlie, I got to have a meeting with you. Bill, when can we talk? And they're like 4 a.m. I'm like, all right, I'll be there. So we get on a Zoom call at 4 a.m. to look at my P&Ls. And the first thing they said right away, they solved it. They were like, boom, right there. You're not making 62.5% gross profit. I said, what? Like we were up from 47 to 52. I think we were even at 55 or maybe 50. I think we were still, that month was about 53 or so. And they were like, you can't run world-class service on 53% gross margin. Look how much money you would have made if you had just held at 62%. So literally the next month, I got the entire company rallied up, and we all worked our butts off to try to hold that 60+%, 62% profit margin. And we printed tons of net, a couple 100,000. And then the next month, another couple 100,000. The next month, 250, then 300, then 350, right? Net.
And that was 62%. Is that target?
That's the number. And
okay. All right. And Quinton, you've been silent so far, and I know that you're
blabber the whole time. Quinton, let's hear from you.
Everyone's talked a little bit, but Quinton's been. I need to get him in on this conversation. What do you think about 62% as a target?
Yeah, that's a pretty good target. I mean, we're running between 63 and 64.
Nice.
That's where we're sitting at.
Nice.
And in 2024, before I made the changes in 25, we did $630,000 a year. And right now we're sitting $20,000 away from doing $1 million.
Yeah, and we're a little bit halfway through the year, right? So
my goal
you're on pace for like
1.1 million with 4 guys.
Okay, 2.1. All right, nice.
And like I said, we're $20,000 away from hitting $1 million already on the year.
Nice, very, very good.
So,
okay,
that's why I decided to come back. Crack the whip to get that last little push so I can be at the $1 million by the end of the month.
Okay, all right. And those who are listening to this podcast, this is being recorded in actually at the end of June, or days away from the end of June. So that'll be the halfway point, I guess. So, Chris, what about you? You like that 62 target?
Yeah, I'm actually. I had to dive into my analytics to see where I was currently, but yeah, we're sitting right around 63. So,
all right, that's a win. So we're all poised and ready. Brad, you feel the same way? You have a similar goal?
But let's also let me put some out there. I've been on the same side where the numbers that I trusted weren't trustable too. So that's a whole nother level of software and being aware of, your true value or your true cost of technicians versus what they cost you per hour. Most places tell you to add 33%. And so it's, to come back to the bigger thing is you can actually trust untrustable information and it can get you in trouble. I've been there before. So just to hint on that one a little bit as well.
Yeah, understating tech cost, is a nail in the coffin because you think you're making your money. You're auditing the ticket before you present it to sell to the customer, and you think you're hitting your numbers, and then you get your P&L out a month later, and you're not making any money.
Yeah. So, Brad, do you like that 62 as well?
I mean, I like it. We're not there. We, like I said, we do across the 4 stores. We probably do 12,000 tires. Tires are at 20-ish percent margin.
Like that. Yeah.
Now again, too, and so we don't in the gross. We do effect on gross. We add in full payroll taxes are up there. And a weighted cost that most people use is unweighted costs. We throw it there, try and put as many realistic employee benefits up into gross profit. We're really transparent. We pay on gross profit. It's something I need to worry about and I'm in control of. My guys don't necessarily tell me what's $5,000 on advertising or nothing on advertising. Time of the day to go negotiate what our garbage pickup costs, right? So I think a lot of this is outside of a manager's control, and I just don't think it's truly fair to pay them on that. So we do gross. Gross is 100% in their control, and in our one large stores, we got 15 bays there, and they do a large majority of our tires, and they're probably 52-ish percent. The other stores are probably around 56 or so percent.
Still great with tires, man. There's nothing to shake a stick at.
And I think the thing there too we like is, again, it's all goes back to that mix. The tires allow us to grow techs, build techs. We can bring in guys at $15 an hour right out of high school. Who maybe think cars are cool. We can build them up and do a $25, $30 an hour in a couple of years. And we don't have to throw them straight into it of, hey, I need you to produce. I need you to make money. I just need you to learn oil changes. Or I guess to your point, Rob, like, I just need you to do rack attack and I'll pay you. right? I don't need you to be a world-class tech. I'll give you that skill and things. And one thing you keep saying, Rob, about the money or the net and all that, I just think, unfortunately, the times the world thinks that that's a dirty word or that's a problem. And at the end of the day, I look at it as, tell me something that got built without capital investment. And you can't build anything. And I don't need to build the Taj Mahal or whatnot. I need to build a training program. I need to build equipment. I need to invest in my buildings. I need to have loaner vehicles. I mean, back to that world class, like there's a lot of investment that goes into keeping that customer happy and content. And so at the end of the day, there's no money tree in the backyard. I joke with everybody, even my kids. You know, it's got to come from somewhere. Where's that going to come from? And I think a lot of people get nervous. Oh, I'm making too much. I'm charging too much. Yeah, I can tell you if you got a bunch of 1-star Google reviews telling you that, or you have a bunch of 5-star Google reviews of these people being like, best place I've ever gone. I've never thought I would experience the place that I walk in and I could eat off the showroom floor and it's bright and light and there's flowers and there's people who smile and they said hello and right. Like it's not hard. It's not rocket science. But at the end of the
just for the record, I'm probably not going to eat off your floors. That's not going to be my. That's not really my. I like if it falls in the grass. I trust the grass more than I trust your floor. Nothing personal, but that's just
I
me.
might too. But you know, I think that we have to all be realistic that.
I mean,
none of us are registered as a nonprofit either. So if you're running a nonprofit, I get it.
I mean, at the end of the day, you know, you're charging what you need to charge, but you got to deliver an experience to make it where the customer doesn't combat your charge because, you know, your competitor up the street is cheaper. Well, do they offer the same things you're offering? You know, so we take and every car that comes through the door, when it goes to leave, the floorboard's been vacuumed out of it, door jam's been wiped. There's a gift in the center and the cup holder part in the center of the car, you know, because you're delivering an experience. It doesn't cost much to give them that experience. Like right now, it's hot
what kind
outside.
of gifts are in the middle?
It's summertime. So we're giving little fans where you squeeze the side of a little fan blade spin to keep you cool in your car if you're stuck in traffic. You know, the little gifts
Wait,
like
is that because you weren't able to fix the air conditioner or what? Like what does the...
You got fuel costs up there now. They're trying everything to cut that back. But, you know, it's just, you give them a little something. You go on Amazon and you look up bulk gifts for summertime. And like $1.50 each. You know, if you don't have $1.50 you can invest in a customer, then there's an issue. But it gives them that experience that the guy up the road's not giving them. You know,
I agree with you, Quinn. I think a lot of
nobody does gifts. You're the only one.
When we were a little bit smaller, it was easier. We used to leave a lollipop with a jingle that said, "We moved your seat, so here's a treat. Thanks for choosing True. Please leave us a review." I
like that.
I did have a question for you.
Did you use AI for that, or did you come up with that on your own?
Oh, that's way before AI. I'm just kidding.
Okay. All right.
Brad, I had a question for you. I've seen a lot of, or notably one guy up in outside of Chattanooga, Tennessee, Lynn Massengill. He's a stud, man. His stores are absolutely rocking and rolling. They were a tire shop probably since as long as you guys have been around. Are you guys inspecting cars that come in for tires for any other gravy work, control arms, brakes, any of that? Just curious. Okay.
So that's also why, I really encourage people. I mean, you don't have to embrace tire mentality. I don't think you need to change your name to True Tire in automotive by any means, right? But
yeah,
we very much look at tires as the sticky point,
nice.
Right? And then tires, in a sense, for us, we almost look at it as better loss. I mean, I don't look at it. I could show you in the numbers. I can prove it, right? That tires are a better loss leader than giving away a free oil change. Free oil change, great. You got it. You looked at it. You can, like you said, I mean, to do tires, wheels got to come off. So you're looking at brakes. You're looking at struts. You're looking at the rack. You're looking underneath for leaks, right? I mean, if you can't catch the tie rod, if you can't catch, and then now here's the best part. You leave with an oil change. You have no incentive to necessarily come back, right? You leave with a set of tires and you say, hey, just, it comes with, free lifetime rotations. It has the road hazard. Hey, just, because you're on tires with us, we give you a discount on the tire repair. So now there's that incentive to come back. What do? Comes back in, we're checking again. How do we miss the brakes? How do we not be the first one to tell them when the ball joints are getting loose, when the struts are at 100,000, when they just got to their 100,000 spark plug, right? It's like, if you can get that customer, we say it too in our group that we're in, we're big on it. If we can get somebody to come in 2.2 times a year, I guarantee if there's other things, right? But like, you have a decent operation, you'll be making money.
Are they coming? Is there any regional component to what you're saying? So, I mean, Rob's in Atlanta. They've had about 4 inches of snow over the last 25 years. You are in the Midwest, right outside of Chicago for some of your locations. You have some more winter experiences. And does that increase the interest in does that increase the thought of tires in the customer's mind? Is what I'm really asking.
No.
Okay.
Right. I mean, tires are on every car and tires wear on every car. So
Sure. But I mean, you probably still have occasionally people coming in just to swap out snow tires occasionally.
Not as much anymore. Really, not as much anymore. Especially we've come a long way with some all weather. We sell probably more all weathers now than all season. But I think all season came in.
I'm actually surprised to hear that there are plenty of shops, but I guess that they're more north of you, where they do a decent sized business swapping it out. There's still that, and maybe it's the older customer that's still doing it, but they have a significant business just swapping it out.
Yeah. No, I mean, our group, people that are in, the North Carolina, a couple ones in North Carolina, they have about 25 shops. Guy down in Louisiana, he's got 20 shops. Jesus. And they move units, they move hoops. And we all say, if I'm selling hoops, I guarantee on that car, if I do enough job and I got a good CRM, I'm going to get the brakes. I'm going to get the tire out. I'm going to be the first one to tell them when their spark plugs are due. There's just no way we miss that. It's way stickier than giving away a free oil change.
Who's adding tires now? Anyone adding tires? Sure, Rob.
We sell tires. I do think they're hard to kind of sell because it's so commoditized. How do I say that word correctly? And that was going to be another question I asked you, Brad. Obviously, if you guys are selling road hazards and things like that, to try to bump up those margins, and obviously to keep them coming back to you. It sounds like you're doing that.
Sure, and I mean, like I said, it is a lost leader, but we really do. We don't stress anymore like we used to on. Can we get to 21%? Can we get to 22%? Can you get to 24%? And, like you said, we have recently gone to really pushing for valve stems with, install 4 tires. We're $30 a tire to install. So I'll compete on the tire price itself, but I'm not going to match, discounts install price or Costco's install price. I mean, it's just like the tires, Rob, right? We're going to redo those, and they dry rot place them too, right? Well, guess what else dry rot's on that car? And we're going to be right there today. We're going to do those 4 valve stems. Hey, it's $9 a stem. It's not a big deal. Also, realistically is you need to do those rotations. They're for free. Take advantage of that. And I can't recommend it enough and stress to you how important an alignment is. I don't want you putting $1,200 into these tires right now, and in 6 months come back to your first. The front tires have no egg wear.
Yeah, blast it out.
So I get it. It's $150, but it's insurance in a sense. And then we'll check it for free. And we say we'll check it for free. If it doesn't need it, there's no charge. We're in Chicago, so we got a lot of potholes and crappy roads. So not a lot of cars on a line. And the same thing, we kind of promote it within our CRM is if you haven't been in for a year, we'll shoot you just to say, hey, don't forget about your free rotates and free alignment. We'll check your alignment again for free. Just to get them back in the system, restart that CRM process.
Yep.
And then honestly, I feel like with tires, it is difficult to start it. It's a very slow process. It does take a specific training on the counter, a certain understanding of tires, and it's slow to get moving to make it worth it, because at the end of the day, that 20% margin isn't really what we're living on or what we're, right? I mean, volume bonuses, backside money, programs. I mean, the amount that we get in a sense of rebate is way more significant than what we're getting on even parts. But you have to get to that, probably the 7,000 number to start making that a significant amount of money that the tire price isn't so concerning to you to make it.
And how many locations did you guys have, Brad?
4.
4. Nice.
All right. So if we're talking about scaling the shop, and if a shop owner is trying to say, okay, how do I figure out how to move quickly? How do I actually grow this thing, in a shorter period of time? Because we're all part of this microwave generation. I don't know why it takes longer than 30 seconds. That's ridiculous. But what I'm hearing is you better manage the time sucks. Number one, for example, you don't want to do a 2-hour diag, right? And you got to make sure that your guys are efficient and you're not, losing time in between different pieces. The other thing I heard was create specialists. If a tech hates doing X, Y, and Z, whereas another one loves it, then swap it out. Allow them to do. Not everyone has to do everything, right? Is that? Do I have that right, Rob? That's part of your rack attack. And then the other thing I heard was focus on the profit. Focus on the net profit, right? Not the gross profit, the net profit. Do I have that right?
Yeah, the net's where it's at.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
and so what else are we thinking about? If someone's trying to rapidly go from where they're at today to, somewhere, double in the next 6 months, or what else should they be thinking about in this process?
Personal coaching for sure. Oh, sorry, go Quinton.
It's one of the things where, oil change has actually been my main thing that's been a driving force for us. Because I used to have my oil change price set because I didn't want to do oil changes. I ain't gonna lie. I didn't want to be that guy that doing oil change all day long. And the business suffered from it. So now I have a cheap oil change. My full synthetic oil changes are $49. And I take if you're a customer of mine that spends good money with me, I'll give you a business card that says free oil change on the back of it. I'll give you one for you, then you can give it to one of your friends. Because if you have money, spend money, your friend's going to do it. Are
you tracking that? Or do they just get 2 free oil changes?
No, I am tracking it. So it has to be somebody different, and it cannot be in the same household. It cannot be in the same household.
All right. I've got 2 personalities. Chris, you mentioned coaching. You're saying someone to pay attention to your blind spots because, well, they're your blind spots. Is that what you're about to say, Chris? Or is that?
Well, yeah. Else? I mean, for a lot of us, I look at Rob and look at Brad. I'm like, okay, here's some guys that I'd like to talk to after the show and get to know because they're obviously killing it. If you look at the shop is a reflection of the owner, 1,000%. My shop is a reflection of me, whether I like it or not. And if you're not getting any coaching, if you're not stepping outside those boundaries, you have no idea what your boundaries are or what your strengths or weaknesses truly are. I mean, you can tell yourself all day that you're great at doing something. But until you step in front of someone like some guys on the screen here or all of us, your peers, and you really ask those questions, you actually really get the answers you may want or not want. For me, again, you mentioned auto shop answers. I'm going to look into them for sure. I was blessed enough to have the ability to meet Aaron Stokes and ShopFix during the Triple P money, if you guys remember that. When COVID hit, we went for the PPP money, which is the payback loan, whatever. And if it wasn't for Aaron Stokes and ShopFix, we would not have gotten that money, and we probably wouldn't have survived. He said, just a quick point, don't go to the big banks, find the small locals, go there, talk to them. They want to support you. And yeah, we got like $90K when it was absolutely necessary to survive. So that was just one of those things like, okay, this guy knows what he's doing. Long story short, if you don't reach out to stretch your boundaries and find coaching somewhere, whether it's Auto Shop Answers or Shop Fix or whoever might be out there, you're really doing yourself a disservice. Because I'm sure, again, sorry, Rob, to use you as an example, but you're obviously crushing it, and I'd love to be at that point or at least halfway there to try to give back to those that have got me there. And it's all about the shop owner's mindset. If I don't think I can be in that position, I'll never be there. And that for me is, I've walked into rooms with people that are really impressive, and you'll see them just hit that light switch. You're like, holy crap, I don't know how he reached it, but he hit the light switch, and they'll transform overnight. And so it's coaching is huge, man.
I want to give a quick shout out
to a couple
There's a guy named JJ Mont up in Baltimore. And he has one store. And I think they did well over 600,000 last month, and they netted over 200,000. And a couple of years ago, he was not even doing 200,000 in revenue.
Right.
And, for that kind of change to happen that quick, someone, Brad, I think you asked, like, why do I want less stores? Well, once you kind of see that you can do more with less, do you really want the headaches? For me, the average unit for the Auto Shop Answers guys, they all do over 500K a month, and they're all netting at least 20% net or more. And so I'm like, I have 5 stores, or I had 6, and it's like, I have 5 stores. I should be making 500 grand net a month, and, once you see it, you can't unsee it. And the coolest part about it is it's actually very easy, and it's really fun. It's just crazy. So, big shout out to JJ Mont, my other buddy, the tire guy, Lynn Massengill up in Tennessee. He's got 2 stores that do 500, 600,000 plus a month, netting crazy numbers. And then, for anyone out there on this listening in that's got a small shop and they're like, I can't do it. I only got 2 or 4 bays. Our buddy Charlie in Boston has 2 bays with 4 lifts and does over $400,000 a month out of one location with just 4 lifts and 2 bays crammed in there. No parking, no excuses, just relentless execution of the concept. So drinking the Kool-Aid, I love it.
Loop type. Yeah, like how is he producing those kind of numbers with that few? I mean, Quinton, you're not far behind that, but
we're doing.
But I mean,
yeah, we do. So I've got 4 guys, and one of mine is he's a GS. So, but my GS is the guy that does my test drives. He does vacuum of the floorboard, wipes the door jams, takes out our trash cans, sweep the floors, and occasionally I'll have him do an oil change. So 3 mechanics is essentially what I run, and I've got one guy that's in charge of ordering my parts, and we run between 150. We've had a couple $230,000 months, and
yeah.
And we basically run 3 bays, because one of my bays right now is always tied up with an engine job of some sort. That's a headache that's just sitting there. So essentially we only run 3 bays.
Okay. So is the answer in having support staff? If you're trying to produce a ton with a small footprint, back to your friend your Rob's friend up in, what was it, Tennessee? Where was that guy?
Boston is, yeah.
Boston. Okay.
You just have to execute it. So basically you have to have the procedures in place to hit every mark every time to hit it. You don't have the free space to have something that chokes you up, and that's where the problem is, because we're running right at about 90% efficiency, where most shops run 75 to 80. So his buddy up in Boston,
I would say that most shops consider 75 to 80 to be good. I think the reality is most shops are probably more like at 55.
Yeah. So to hit
I don't know why Chandler's that one.
Maybe.
I went to one of my stores. For us, if you're a technician and you want to say that you're a technician, then I set the floor at 100, and I think 120 to 135 productivity is kind of an expectation. And same back to you, Rob, and this is a big thing that I have heard from. All right, have you heard of Cole Adams? Cordell's are up in Wisconsin area. He's been a big Auto Shop Answers guy. And then Mark Pons out of Chapel Hill Tire. Yeah, so they're both in the group that we're here with. So just been hearing little tidbits from those guys, but I mean, we all be preaching it, and now I feel like it's finally get said to the masses. Like, you need A players to get A results. 100%. So you got to set that expectation as well. Of if you're going to come on the bus, like, we're not going to slack around, and we're not just going to play games. Like, we came here to work. We're going to have fun. We're going to like each other, but like, nobody's getting a free ride either.
Yeah.
And so you said 125% efficiency, and Quinton said 90% efficiency. And I feel like 90 is actually higher than most shops that I've come across. And so I'm wondering if you guys are measuring it the same way.
Yeah, I'm inquiring. Are you saying efficiency or productivity too? because I look at productivity as you're here 8 hours. Most of our techs are billing 10 to 12. I mean, that's productivity. Efficiency is you're here for 8 hours and you only work on one car.
Correct.
That's no productivity. But the car was built for 4 hours of work and it took you 3. You were efficient. Who cares if you're efficient?
You're efficient, but it's
with the
basically
hours.
like you kind of have to have, so efficient, it's overall shop efficiency. Okay, not just individual tech. So if your bay's not running at least 9% efficient, so say, you have a car that bills 5 hours. The guy gets it done in 3. Well, then the bay's empty for 2 hours, 3 hours, waiting for another car or parts or whatever. Then that's time you'll never get back. So that's the efficiency that you've lost to reach that.
Okay,
90.
so you're measuring the efficiency of the bay, and
Yes,
Brad's
I do
measuring
overall.
the productivity of the employee.
Correct. I don't necessarily do the employee. I do bay efficiency. So how much time does it take you to flip cars back into that bay after you pull a car out? And stuff like that is how I measure the efficiency of my guys. Because if you have a guy, all right, that he gets the car done in 3 hours and it pays 5, but then he disappears for an hour and a half on a test drive, your
That's
base
what I'm confused about. Why? Yeah, we're not allowing that. That guy would be fired.
Well, correct. And that's what I do. I mean,
That's a B-level player.
it's one of the things where
I think that's apt.
nobody's
Okay.
probably ran through more techs in a 4-bay shop than I have in a year's time. Because I don't put up the BS. So, a little back. So, in order to crest over the threshold to get to where I'm at, January, I guess it was January 2nd of last year, I came in here, had an epiphany, and fired by a complete staff. And ran the store by myself until March. And since March, I have cycled 9 technicians through the shop since March to get the 3 guys I have now.
Yeah, use it.
I don't put up with it.
Okay.
I do a 3-strike rule. Once you've done the third thing that's really got under in my skin, you're gone. Or if you invade my weekend space. So by invade my weekend space, if I'm thinking about the stuff you messed up on Saturday and Sunday when it's my time with my family, then on Monday you got to go because you invaded my weekend space. I ain't got time for it.
I'll be how you say, I'll play devil's advocate here really quick against that. So at the end of the day, our industry, I mean, that just sounds cookie cutter to our industry, right? Like my goal would be to open 7 days a week. We're going to work as hard as we can while we're on the clock. And then obviously while we're off the clock, we'll clock out. But if you ever want to grab those extra gears, like, the car doesn't know what day it is. And a broken car or a customer stranded, they don't care what's going on in your family. They need
That
help.
is really opposite of what I often hear about 4-day work weeks versus 5-day
like
work
our
weeks.
industry-
You're saying go 7.
Our industry, yeah. And, I just had to close 2 stores on Saturday because I'm not staffed up yet. So that gets back to the other thing we were talking about having enough players. Yes, you need A players, but you really need enough players too. Because not everyone's going to be an A. We're all pulling from the same pool of labor, I guess, in order to, of course, we were going to constantly keep upgrading,
if you
but-
bring somebody in, but you're not going to bring somebody in who's going to be permanently a C-level player, right? You're bringing somebody in with the intention, and I'm not talking about the level technician. I'm talking about just the grade of the job that they're doing, right? And so right now, that's how we're referencing these A, B, C, and F. So if you bring somebody in who you think is has the right character, has the right personality for your culture, but if they don't become an A level in X time, you're ditching them, I would think.
I think
Or at
you
least
can
stressing them.
train everything except for
You're right.
you
Right.
can't
If they have a
train
good attitude, but the low skill level, I can fix the skill level, right? I mean, that's what we're
Correct.
saying, right? All right. So you're saying have enough players, and so you're okay with not start someone that has a good attitude, but might not be an A level yet. That's. I just want to clarify. that that's what
100%.
you're
Yeah, I
talking
mean,
about.
I'm looking for people
Okay.
that are go-getters, that have, absolute integrity, that one thing that we do is we just don't let people be late to work. So we actually had to risk turning over the entire staff, like you, Mr. Quinton, by basically saying, hey guys, like we need you guys here from bell to bell. And one guy's like, I won't do it. And he literally walked out of a 6-figure job with nothing ready to go. He just said, I won't do it. And he walked out. The other two were trying to negotiate with us. And we said, hi, sorry guys, it's not negotiable. And we were ready to run the store by ourselves, just like you, Mr. Quinton. And they ended up stepping up, and they are now doing 25K every day since we actually started making sure to hold that standard. But yeah, I think that is a fallacy that's in our industry. I'd encourage you, Mr. Quinton, to, respectfully reconsider that. At the end of the day, you are the boss and the owner of that company. If you have an employee reaching out to you on the weekend,
it's not as much an employee reaching out to me on weekend. So let me rephrase that. So if the employee has done something that's against like our guidelines, and I'm thinking about what I need to do to address that situation over the weekend, that's what I mean by invading my personal time. So all my guys, they've been to my house. We go to car races together on weekends. Like we do stuff on weekends. But if you've done something that's went against our shop standards, that I'm trying to figure out what I have to do to get you to correct that behavior, and I'm having to think about it all weekend, that's what I mean by invading my weekend.
I did hear a quote the other day. It's like, as soon as you think you might need to fire an employee, you probably need to.
Yes.
So you probably as soon as it's crossing your minds, I guess
it's actually 6-7 months ago. You should have done it. If it crosses your mind, it probably needed to happen months ago. So that one of my employees that I fired a year ago, I actually rehired 3 weeks ago. So when I let him go, I typically don't hire people back, I know, but
right.
So when I let him go, it's because everybody was on a salary and everybody they didn't care. So I had 4 guys at that time, payroll running me $20,000 a week, and they was produced me 40 hours a week between all my guys. And he was one of them, just didn't want to produce. So that's when I just fired everybody. And if you wanted to work for me, you had to be flat rate. And I started with the whole new crew. Now that same boy that would produce 5 to 6 hours a week, and I knew he had more potential than that, is now running between 65 and 70 hours a week in production.
So did his attitude change?
Yeah. I mean, it was one of the things where I taught him everything that I knew when it came to auto repair. And I think his little time out into the real world, because this is the first job he never had, so I kicked him off the porch, and he had some time in the real world. He decided that, maybe life wasn't that
the grass
bad
wasn't
here.
greener. Yeah,
Well,
got
the
it.
salary will also do that too, man. That's a quick culture killer if everyone starts kind of, floating the boat and kind of riding the hog, whatever you want to call it. So I'm glad to hear that you're off salary, because that's definitely a business killer in my opinion.
Nobody here draws just a flat salary. Well, there's 3 people that do. Me, my wife, and my daughter.
Yeah, exactly. No, but it's come back to you, not to give you a hard time. That sounds kind of like a fix the owner, fix the shop mentality, right? You saw a moment, you're like, okay, I've screwed the pooch. I'm not getting paid my value by not creating this sense of urgency, I guess, if you think about it, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Nobody had urgency. And this is one of the things where I joined a coaching firm, and they kept telling me I need to make this change. And the coach that I had, he would call me, be like, hey, did you make the change? I'm like, no. So he just hang up on me. Refused to speak to me until I made a change. So I was paying out, a fair share each month to be hung up on until I made the change. And it was like a flip of a switch,
Okay.
Once I made the change, because I had such a backlog here of cars, that in March, when my whole new staff came on, we was running $50,000-$60,000 months, and cars were here. Well, March, which was the first month that I had 3 mechanics on flat rate, we did $173,000. You know, and we run right around that number now, you know. And now I was having a hard time keeping cars here. So I guess about 8 months ago, I started advertising for the first time ever. You know, it's just something I didn't do, you know. And everybody like, you got to keep up to date on Facebook. I haven't did a Facebook post since 2025.
Okay. Well, and hey, listen, I'm going to make yourself feel a little bit better. I've seen plenty of shops with more outdated social media platforms than that. It's been 6 years since they've actually posted anything.
It's the farthest thing from my mind. Like,
you went through that, Rob? You went through that period where you were, because you're posting now on Facebook.
No, not really. I mean,
somebody else is then, right? I mean, I maybe I'm disconnected with you.
So. Yeah, no, I mean, that's definitely an area for improvement for sure.
Okay. All right.
Can I go back to something real quick? We recently had an advisor, something that may stick with you kind of firing people. Really good advisor, great mouthpiece, can sell anyone anything, hears the tone, knows how to react to the tone, just great advisor. Since our move, he's been a little apprehensive because of the lack of parking, and he's falling back on his dealership routine where he's trying to satisfy each client, every car, every day, whereas that's not our spiel. But he recently came up to us and actually attempted to resign. And a few of the staff members, you know, were bummed about that because they like working with them. How do you guys feel about that? We're now installing a new policy that once someone resigns, they're gone. Because we said, no, Matthew, we dig you, we like you a lot. And again, great guy, just plays out and he hears this. He's a great guy, he's a great advisor. But I learned something is that once someone kind of has that tippy toe or that foot halfway out, that it's really hard to get them back into the mindset that made them walk in the front door in the first place. So like Quinton, you mentioned hiring someone back. We have a policy called the Acosta policy. We hired Ben back 3 different times and there he got better. So we titled the policy by the last employee's name that it didn't work with. A great technician. Maybe it was us. I don't know. You know, but yeah, it's hard to hire people back. But now we've learned a new one that once someone wants to resign or wants to step out, that we should really let them step away.
Well, see, that's
because now he's kind of like halfway there right now, and we're talking about productivity almost every day now. So
when I have somebody that turns in the notice, whatever, I just go ahead and have them leave then, because if they're unhappy and leaving, I've noticed there's a lot of technicians that their work quality slips tremendously, and you start seeing a lot of revenue happen to leave your pocket. To correct
all
the
the
mistakes
callbacks
that
are going to
they've
be
made
happening after they're gone,
in
right?
them 2 weeks.
You're going to get the callbacks for the next 3 months.
Correct.
After they're gone.
So typically, once you tell me you're leaving, I say, all right, wrap up the car you're on, go ahead and go now, and spend some extra time with your family before you start your new job.
Yeah, by the time they've got the courage to write that resignation letter or submit that notice, whatever it was, text message, Snapchat, whatever. Yeah, they're already gone. So let them go. Yeah. That's my thought. Yeah. Brad and Rob, you agree? If there's someone who wants to go, let them go. Don't try to hold on to them.
I mean, I kind of feel like people quit their leaders, not necessarily their jobs, because they're going to go be a tech or service advisor somewhere else. You know, so I try to look inwards as well, and or look and see what kind of vacuum might be going on in the shop. If there's a leader that's overwhelmed or what's actually going on. Of course, I'm trying to run multi-unit. But yeah, I mean, I used to brag that no one had ever quit working for me. And one of the first person that ever left did leave because he said I was too nice. Well, we've retread that person 3 times. We unfortunately just had to let them go. This is, of course, over a 10-year period. But he just isn't up to the same pace that we're at nowadays. Like he's trying to taking some sun on his lunch break and go for a walk and, do all these kinds of things. It's like, hey, we got work to do. So, back to someone's comment earlier of like, we're not here to play. We're here to go to work. Yeah. So
yeah, plans for the weekends.
You did rehire him back. And so like, That's interesting. I've heard
Toolboxes
three
have
different
wheels for a
people
reason. I mean, if the grass looks greener and they want to go, I've had a lot of people get their dream job, and I've also not let some people come back too, because maybe they didn't give us 2 weeks, or, maybe we told them so. But
No, wait a minute. If they gave you 2 weeks, you still let them go?
Yeah, technician,
I've only had two people that actually quit on me. And one of them came up to me and he goes, "It's not you, it's me." Gave me a hug. Now he works at Home Depot. He left the industry completely. And then the second one sent me a text message, said, "I didn't have the kahunas to say it to your face. You've been a great boss. It's not you, it's me. But I need a white collar job. I don't need to get dirty anymore."
It's funny.
It's like, all right.
Huh.
But
yeah, somebody
it's the only
quits.
2 times I've ever had anybody, but it seemed like a breakup. It's not
So-
you, it's me.
Right. It sounded like that. But let's get back to the scaling idea. I mean, obviously managing the employees, like when to hire them. Like, is there how do you balance? Okay, I need more employees. Oh, wait, I need more cars to be able to pay for the more employees. Or wait, I need more space. Like, how are you juggling as you're scaling? How are you juggling those 3 different pieces? Right. You need more revenue, but to get more revenue, to be able to process more revenue, you need more employees.
I have a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet.
You do it with an old school spreadsheet.
So,
okay.
My coach for the coaching firm that I'm part of actually gave us a spreadsheet where I put in what my goal number is, and then that tells me how many cars I have to generate off of the revenue that each car, off of my RO. So I put in last year's sales, so it gives me my highs and lows calculations for the month to know which fonts produced my most revenue. And then from that spreadsheet, it tells me how many cars I need. Well, in all honesty, technicians can only do about 2.5 cars a day at the RO that I'm running. So that tells me how many technicians I need in order to produce the amount of cars I got to produce to equal the numbers I need to equal. So, in order to lower the car number I needed, we worked on finding more things to increase our RO. Because I'm restricted with the base space I have. So basically, it said that I ran out of bays, and it wasn't possible because the cap for my shop is actually everybody, it's been put in multiple softwares, and they're all saying it's about 1.8 to 1.9 is my cap. And of course I'm trying to do 2.1.
Right. Well, we've heard other stories even today that those caps aren't.
They're not true
necessarily-
caps.
You can actually, right? You can actually, if you have the best efficiency and whatnot, you
If I
can do better.
throw something on that real quick. Technicians are free, right? For at least the first 40 hours. You don't have to pay them. If you're a 2-week pay plan, you've got 2 weeks for them to build work before you have to cut them a check. This is obviously Quinton's very, very straightforward, very analytical about it. The way I kind of look at it is I'm a little more off the hip, but obviously with facts based. But it seems like if you're sitting there and you're booked out a week and a half, 2 weeks, you're definitely a tech shy, if not 2. Being a week out is about right, that way you can stage things. If you're consistently out 2, I would at least grab 1 technician. 2, then obviously, hopefully you have systems in place, right? But that technician at that point takes a load of those 40 hours of work plus a week off of your shoulders to then get you back to catch up with what's necessary. What I mean by technicians are free, right? You have them for 2 weeks before they have to be paid. So hopefully in that 2 weeks, your shop has enough, things together to generate the revenue to pay that technician.
Okay.
And if not, then maybe this is a smaller shop that needs to learn the basics. But I would think anyone in this room, especially, Quinton and I are being the smaller guys, that the business is probably there, the revenue is probably there. It's just also having the backbone is to make the decision. And also knowing that too, whenever you hire someone new, the next day it's going to be slow. It's very odd like that.
Oh, wait.
Well,
Why does
that's
that happen?
friction. And
Every
you also
time.
got, it's the new broom syndrome, as I call it too. So you'll hire a new guy, and if you've ever bought a brand new broom, it sweeps extremely well for like the first month, and then it starts wearing out and getting
honeymoon period.
Clean the floor no more. So it's the new broom
Honeymoon
syndrome.
period. Yep.
You know, the first month you're like, man, this guy's setting the world on fire, and then you start seeing they dial back, and then they settle in somewhere, but they're not the same guy putting the effort forth that they did when you first hired them.
Well, then that sometimes that's a cultural thing, is the people around them aren't also rising to that same level, right? If you got a bunch of guys doing 42 hours a week worth of billing, and this guy steps in doing 60, and everyone's looking at him like, Jesus, bro, slow down. He's going to, you know. Well, if he's getting high fives, and he's like, wow, how can I get like you? And then the tide rises. That's where you really get a great culture, you know. Yeah. But yeah, no, you valid point. You call it the honeymoon period.
Yeah, because that's one of the guys that I hired. So basically, I went from having just your average run-of-the-mill techs to every one of my techs now is AC certified master techs, and they've all done a stint at the dealerships. I have nobody that hasn't had any dealer experience or that has no ASC certifications anymore. You know,
see, my area, the dealership isn't always the best thing, because over here in California, it's more like layers of the onion. You can tell as many lies as you want. You got 4 layers between you and the client. And so, but I get what you're saying. Higher quality technicians produce a higher quality, products.
So the one that I brought on, he came on in January. Everybody's doing their 45, 60-hour weeks. And his first 3 weeks here, he was doing, his first week here, he did 73 hours. And they did 110 the following week, 105 the week after that. And I pay weekly, and we're here 45 hours a week. And now he's settled in. He averages right between 75 and 80 hours a week is why he turns.
Okay.
So my other guys, of course, now they've stepped up to the plate, and they're staying right around the 75-hour week turn, and it's just because he didn't slow down. I think you have to kind of look at the person as what they can live on comfortably, because the mindset of most of your guys today is, if I can live on $1,500 a week and I make $1,600 a week, I got $100 a week I'm put away. And that's all they strive for. So the one that came in that's killing and cranking a bunch of hours, he's got a mortgage payment, he's got 2 kids, he has to make money, so brought the ones that could coast comfortably because they still live in their parents' basement, and made them where they had to produce in order, because I feel like amongst technicians, because we've all probably been technicians at some point, there's that competitive streak in you too. So you want to be the top guy, so you constantly, so I incentivized with the rewards program. So, if you turn the most hours this week, I'm going to give you a gift card to go out to the steakhouse, so then it has the next guy wanting to beat out the first guy. And it's really,
so are you publishing everybody's rankings and numbers for everybody?
Huh?
Are you publishing, is it on display for everyone to see?
100%.
And guys, and who else? Brad, are you also doing this? Or Rob, are you doing this where you're publishing here's everyone's productivity levels, and it's publicly there, and there's always going to be somebody at the bottom. So when do we go all Jack Welch and get rid of those people? I mean, with and if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about firing the bottom 10%. So Rob, that's 8 people a month for you.
If you stay on the bottom, if you're the last place guy 3 weeks in a row, you're out.
Whoa. Okay. All right. Who else? Who else doing that?
We've been I love that book, Winning by Jack Welch. There's so many great nuggets in there, but yeah, we've been doing that. Jack Welch does it every year, but we've been doing it somewhat quarterly / semi-annually, just to, again, keep raising the bar. So yeah, that's definitely a winning recipe.
And so what does that look like? You're actually firing 8 people a quarter? You said you had 80. Sorry, you said you had 80, right? And Jack Welch's thing is 10%, right? So that's why I'm asking the 8.
Yeah, and obviously the 80 is across different different roles, but it's really been, basically that. It's crazy. We've,
Okay.
that's, we're setting
So
records
you're
every month,
evaluating and
and every
determining-
time someone leaves, we grab another gear. And obviously we
Okay.
replace them with more studs, but if you're not, and also too, just having those hard conversations. And chapter 2 of Jack Welch's book, it's candor is business is superpower. So making sure you're not just firing people, right? I don't like firing people. If someone's not doing a good job, they need to be coached. They need to be put on a performance improvement plan. And then if they, still can't rise to the occasion, then they are obviously not a fit. It's not the environment for them. But a lot of times, either the PIP's going to make it work or it's not. So it's going to be pretty obvious right away. It might be.
There's got to be somebody out there in California, Chris, who actually is on Red Bull or whatever they need to be motoring. You need to get them in there, and then one at a time replace your.
That's
I don't want to necessarily say pot smoking, but you replace your more casual, laid back folk.
what do you mean,
Right?
bro? No, yeah, that's a whole new challenge. I wouldn't even go into that. That's probably another 2-hour podcast on its own. No, honestly, but again, I got to call it out, kind of like what Rob said earlier with the guys trying to resign. That's something to lean inward. I'm like, all right,
Well,
I like that.
I want to challenge you too, Chris. Right, and I love that you met Aaron Stokes. He always said, "Speed of the leader, speed of the pack." I challenge you. What are you doing to be the best leader you can be?
Sure.
What are your daily habits like? Are you exercising? Are you abstaining from alcohol? Are you being the best you can be? And if you're not, then look inwards, because B players aren't going to work, or A players aren't going to work for B leaders. And generally there's a leadership, like people aren't going to work for people that they
So
feel
look
like
down on.
yeah.
And that's,
Yeah, they wouldn't want to hang out with.
if they don't feel
I'm
like,
sorry, real quick, Rob, you said you mentioned drinking alcohol in that list. I feel like there was a handful of shop owners that just turned off this episode. But if you're still with us, that's great.
No, it's a valid statement.
Hey,
Just getting around.
I love a margarita. I love cold beer. I love hanging out with the boys. But at the end of the day, I'm running a $20 million business, and I have to abstain from drinking alcohol. And I can tell you, every single employee in my company that has quit drinking alcohol has turned into a superstar. I'm dead ass serious. And alcohol is so available. And I think it's one of the worst drugs there is. I don't like it. And I implore anyone that's not gone a year without drinking to try it. Because I went to UGA. We graduated we were the #1 party school in the country at the University of Georgia. And so don't get me wrong, I've thrown down, but now I'm playing the great game of business. And think about it. We've got this window of time right now when we're in our prime. Are you going to throw it away because you like having a cocktail or you like having a margarita? And Brad, I know you were talking about those smoked whiskeys or whatever you were having. It sounds great. But right now is not the time. We are locked in. We are high performing business athletes. And I'll tell you, and I'm proud of my dad. He's now 5 years. He hasn't had a sip of alcohol or a puff of nothing. And I got proud of my dad. He's 68 years old, and he's now in this retired community of people that, they're all worth millions and millions of dollars, and they drink Camus bottles of wine at their book club at 10 in the morning. And my dad and his wife were like, that's not for us. So they've been stone cold sober for this long. My vice president of operations has been sober over a year. He now runs more than 10 miles a week. He ran 10 miles last night. One of my best friends who runs one of my stores, he'll be doing $700,000 a month out of this store in the next year. And again, it's all because he doesn't drink. I guarantee it.
well, that's because, you think about it, it clouds your focus and clouds your mind, and in order to ramp up operations and to be able to stay laser focused on the stuff that you need to focus on to advance to that next level and just keep pulling the levers to keep advancing, you can't have anything that clouds it at all, because if your mind's clouded at all, just the slightest little bit, and you don't pull that lever correctly or at the wrong time, it can crash and take you back 10 steps. So you got to be, focused on when and how to maneuver the things you need to maneuver, so you don't do it too soon or too late. That can actually cause issues, and I gave up all the impairing stuff. I guess in 2020, when everybody was grabbing it because of COVID, that's when I quit everything. 2 days after I quit's when our governor went on TV and said he was shutting the state down. I'm like, well, I picked a fine time to do this,
Good time. And, I should mention that, this podcast is brought to you by AA Shop Marketing, but the AA is not related to the Alcohol Anonymous. And it just seems like an appropriate time to mention this. It's actually Addison Auto Shop Marketing. And, but that said, this August will be my 10-year mark, Rob, as far as not having any alcohol. But I got to tell you, I'm not like your one employee. I'm not running 10 miles. Like, I'm not, no.
I'm only running by being chased.
Well, I want to make one quick comment about that. One of my teammates here has not had any alcohol, said that now everything's a lot easier. Like things that used to be really difficult. I'm not, I'm talking business and personally, but he just says everything's a lot easier now. And it's not like he was even drinking every day, but, having hard conversations with different employees, or getting up extra early to run our meetings in the morning before we get started, like staying late, to assist the customer who's coming in at the bell, to still work to get it one more sale that day. So I'm really proud of them for.
Well, and you made a comment about the business athlete, and I keep hearing stories about, certain, like with the World Cup going on, different athletes having different diet programs and whatnot. And I'll tell you this, I actually tried to quit sugar a few months back, and that was much more difficult than stopping drinking.
Way to go.
Like, that's crazy. If you want to try to quit something that's almost impossible to quit, try quitting sugar, because you go out to a restaurant, they probably have sauce that has sugar in the sauce. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. And they don't even call it sugar, right? There's like 25 different names for this stuff. And so if you really dig in, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't have, I have to go outside and kill the steer, and then actually, hang it up, and then that's like, it's almost the only way.
Well, my mother-in-law's got to be gluten-free, and we did 5 days in Paris. Find stuff that's gluten-free. Like all their sauces and everything has it in it. She's like, I'll just have a salad. Right. And there were salads she couldn't even have.
That's just crazy. Over there, were there salads that were Southwest chicken? That'd be interesting if they had a Southwest chicken, a U.S. Southwest chicken salad.
They put bread on everything.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? It's my understanding that their bread is different from our bread as far as right. So
I will say I'm not a bread person, but it is very good bread.
Okay. All right. Let's get back to scaling the shop. And so another tip that I'm hearing is hone in on your physical health so that you can focus on being that business athlete, that top performing athlete. That's also another thing that I'm hearing. Is if you're trying to scale your shop fast, then you need to, to figure that out. But I would also encourage you to not do it all at once. Like if you try to quit sugar, quit alcohol, quit all of your bad habits all tomorrow, me personally, I think you're going to burn out. Is that yes? No?
Tobacco and caffeine at the exact same time.
Really?
So I was drinking 10, 20-ounce cans of Red Bull a day.
Yeah, but that's not just the caffeine. That's actually more sugar than it is caffeine.
3 packs a day was my habit.
Yeah.
And I quit cold
that was killing you for other reasons.
All of it.
I
encourage you just to take caffeine pills.
I want to give Todd Hayes a quick shout out. The guy, he was 340 pounds and now he's 204 or 205 or something in basically only 1 year. And that's from just doing 10,000 steps a day, no alcohol, strict carnivore diet. And you think about a guy who's growing his business to be a $1 billion enterprise, it's really the strict discipline of it, though. He has no cheat days. He has not missed. He's battling cancer, and he still made sure he got his 10,000 steps every day, even while receiving all the different treatments for that.
That's tough.
So
That's
in
amazing.
terms of leadership and getting our people to do what we expect them to do, especially when they don't want to, right? Discipline is key, right? Motivation comes and goes. If you just looking to be motivated, it's going to start raining one day. You're not going to feel like doing it. You're going to be sick one day. You're going to be tired, you know? And so I'm a huge proponent of discipline. And I think that's trickled down through our organization. I taught myself fluent Spanish over the last 5 years by doing Duolingo every day, but just 5 minutes a day, you know? And that's just one discipline example. I was having dinner last night and they brought 2 ice cold beers out to the table next to me. And I'm looking at like, those beers look delicious, but did I order a beer? No. You know, it would have been nice.
Yeah.
But again, it just goes back to discipline.
Yeah, I was feeling like
But I feel like I
you
saw
hear me?
some of your eyes flinch when I suggested that you don't have to do all of it all at once. Am I wrong? Is it? We shouldn't be worried about burnout. Just set the crazy regimen and be disciplined about it. Pull up your big boy pants and get on it.
Well,
Or
'cause I mean,
is there a baby step
If
to this process?
your employees see you being able to put on your big boy pants, do it all at one time, and just stay disciplined with it, then I feel like they would have more respect for you because they're like, well, if he can do it, I can do it. You know, none of this whole baby steps, because when you're doing baby steps, you're trying to change what you're doing. It's easier to fall back into your standard routines if, you know, it's like, well, you know, I can go back on this a little bit because, you know, it's not that big of a deal. So with me, it was a lot easier just to do it all at one time, because then it's cut date. This is the day that it happened, and that's that. You know, I probably wasn't the most pleasant person for the first couple months, but it happened.
And now,
I'm sorry.
I want to speak
I'm
to
sorry.
that real
You're
quick.
considered.
Okay.
You're pleasant now, Quinton.
No.
No. Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rob.
So in the Auto Shop Answers group, they call it a violent injection of change. So it doesn't necessarily have to be quitting substances and sugar and all that stuff, right? But anytime you want to make a change, either you can take a long time to implement something, or you can just implement it now, right? So we all know how to be healthy. Quit eating bad food, quit using drugs and alcohol, and go to the gym, right? You know, how do you fix your shop, right? Put your people on flat rate right away. You know, say yes on the phone, make 62.5% GP, keep it nice and neat and orderly, right? Don't tolerate bad attitudes. Boom. It's a very simple recipe, but you just do it like now. Don't wait.
ways down.
That's me.
I'm the poster child for ADHD. I'm not proud of that. I'm trying to work on it as we speak, but the person I am on Monday is not the person I am on Wednesday, nor is it the person I am on Friday. So that's something that does. I've made some dramatic changes. Again, I hate to keep saying it, but fix the owner, fix the shop. I swear to God, that logo is directed at me. Learning that I can't see myself as an equal. That's one thing I used to do is I would pal around, joke around, buddy pal kind of routine. And I'm bad with discipline. It's not my thing. It's not something I enjoy doing. When I do it, I'm usually pretty pissed off. And of course, I probably don't say the right things. I've gotten better at that as well. But no, I'm probably the worst one on the screen when it comes to those habits. Nothing in front of the guys by any means. I do.
So what are you going to do about it?
Well, it's just making me think about stuff. Okay. I'm not the best at implementing things. One of the things I don't do well is sometimes trust my own instincts. Sometimes I'll like Rob was saying, I'll take a long time to implement things. And then when I go to implement things that are immediate, I'm not doing it correctly or with enough drive or passion for it. So I'm unfortunately the most inconsistent person that I know, and I'm working on that. But it's some pretty hard habits to break. You realize it's like the training that I've gotten my whole life to get to where I'm at is training that I don't know, told myself was right. Then you have to fall back on the earliest of Lego blocks and realize that, the bottom floor of your Lego building is a little weak, so, yeah.
It's like you have some light bulbs going off.
No, for sure.
Some light bulbs.
No, this whole conversation has done that for me since pretty much from the jump. So I appreciate that. That's kind of why we're here, right?
I mean, one thing like my coach, with the coach firm I'm with, he actually gave us a task to dress different than our guys. So, because if you wear the same uniform that your guys wear,
You're one of them.
you're one of them. So, like today,
I'm sorry, my mind went to those yellow Disney characters. One of us.
so today I'm in a polo, but like, he's like, wear a nice shirt and a nice pair of pants. Cause then you don't want to you're less apt to actually like get dirty because you don't want to destroy your good clothes. So it kind of rips the Band-Aid off the whole daddy syndrome. You're always there to bail your guys out, because a lot of us, we walk into our shop and an employee will be like, hey man, can you come help me with this or that? So then they're not meaning to, I don't think, but it kind of brings you back down to their level when you're doing a $20 an hour job, when as an owner, you need to be doing a $500 an hour job. You don't need to be doing that low level job. You need to be doing the stuff that gains you more reward for your time. Figuring out your marketing, figuring out different things that adds to the net by bringing the revenue in. You don't need to be balancing a set of tires or, doing an oil change and stuff like that. And that's our coach, in order to keep you from doing that, said to wear nice clothes, because who wants to get a $150 pair of pants oily where it destroys them? Nobody, So that was his thing.
Well, this is where I go back to this is where I go back to also just like, listen, the reality is if you're trying to scale fast, the more of these principles that you can apply tomorrow or this afternoon, the faster you're going to scale.
Correct.
Right? But if you are, Chris just said he was struggling with a handful of different things. And if that's the case, then maybe it's a scenario where let's do this one thing with discipline this week and then call it a win. And now you can believe that you can do a second thing next week. And then as soon as you can, to pile on more, maybe the answer is, again, the faster scalers are going to be able to apply more quickly.
And the other part too is that
it might be that
write it
simple.
I still love turning wrenches too. So it's I still love the craft that got me into what I'm doing. I would like to retire behind the steering wheel racing. I'd like to retire doing mechanical stuff. So that's also tough for me too, is being in the environment that I love so much and pretending. I was just say pretending, trying not to be distracted, trying to stay on focus. And
I want to speak to that really quick, Chris, because I'm a race car driver as well. Started my business because I went to the track 25 to 30 weekends a year. You name it, I've got all the kind of cars. Imagine if you could spend the next 3 to 5 years really locked in, dialing in your business so that when you get out of here, you can actually go drive a real race car at the Daytona 500. I see the Nürburgring on your hat. Right.
Yes, sir.
So imagine we're in the prime. We're extremely attractive to being rolled up in private equity and things like that. So if you could commit to executing a concept that's going to get your store, even if you have one location, to over 500,000 in netting over $1 million, you get a crazy multiple on that. You're set. So you don't need to wait a long time. In fact, you need to probably come out and do it now. I love, like, Todd Hayes has kind of helped park my butt. I broke both my legs skydiving last year on Friday the 13th in June. And it was actually the best thing that ever happened to me because I got to slow down. I stopped racing cars, right? I got a seat in a Porsche Cup car. Right now I can go drive anytime. And I'm not doing that because I need to focus on the business. Right. So as much fun as going to the track is, as much fun as skydiving and all the fun.
All right. So you mentioned private equity. I find this really, really interesting. And I think a lot of small shop owners or scaling shop owners are this is how they're scaling. They're actually looking for those who are thinking that they're going to go to private equity. And instead they're buying those other shops and creating their own little business. Right. I know of a handful of shop owners who own 2 or 3 locations, and they're on the lookout for shop owners who are in their 60s who are looking to just retire and get out. And so, but like I said, you mentioned the whole private equity thing. One possible way to scale is, again, if you have your location dialed in, your process is locked in, your GP at the right rate, now you can go and duplicate that potentially by taking over another shop. I think that's extremely advantageous.
And you need to be careful because, again, prior to the podcast going live here, we scaled to fail, right? Like we grew too quickly. And that's why I love the Auto Shop Answers business model of one spectacular store at a time. And you don't move on until that unit's doing over 500K in revenue. And only then do you move into the next location, right? And again, 500K in revenue, ideally netting $100,000 or more before you move to the next location. So that's again why.
I'm sorry, that's per month or per year?
Per month.
Per month.
Yeah, 500K per month.
But
well, again, our buddy Charlie Zalakos is proven the impossible. He's got 4 bays and 2 bays and 4 lifts, and will do 500,000 out of that store. He's already doing over 400 every month. So
that's the rare.
It's very realistic.
I mean, you can. Okay.
He is one of the most disciplined people. He is committed to the process. He says yes. Yeah. He doesn't tie up his 3rd bay with an engine job, right? You got to also know what's smart for your space.
A shop like that can't do larger repairs, right? They're not doing any kind of heavy line. They're not doing.
We call that TNG. It's totally not gravy. You know, we want to be able to get car count through this shop, right? Like you figure an average of $1,000 ticket, you need to do 500 cars a month. How do you do that? Well, it's all just a simple math equation. You know, you're going to spend 25 grand in marketing, but that ends up only being 5% of your revenue, which is, everyone knows, Chris and others, they know that's part of the recipe.
I think, Brad, you said about scaling and fast and this and that. People want it fast. I think everything that Rob's saying plays right into what you brought up for the gist of what we're here to talk about. Is none of that's going to happen like through true discipline. I don't know. You got me thinking. I'll say it while I'm sitting. I texted my wife. I said, I think I'm going to go home and give up a month of drinking.
Okay,
let's go, baby.
I think it'd be good, just a reset. And my poison or my fun outside of work is I'm big triathlons. I just love it. Yeah. It's addictive. It's one of those sports. Like, so I actually got into it because I love swimming. It's you and the clock, right? Sure, there are other people in that race, but I don't care if I beat the 55-year-old guy, and too upset if the 26-year-old guy also beats me as well, right? Like, we're all at different stages, but I'm going to be really disappointed if I don't do better than I did in the last race.
Okay. And what are the distances on those triathlons? Because I've looked at those, and I'm like, again, back to Rob's employee comment, that's too far.
But you know what?
I'll build up to it.
There's a lot of there's a lot of different lengths, right? So you can do a super sprint, which is becoming more popular. So I think those are only 300 or 400, maybe a 400-yard swim. So a few laps in a pool, if you think of it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Then they're probably only about an 8-mile bike, and then usually a 2-mile run. So I mean that's pretty feasible for most people. But I love Olympic distance. That is a lot of bang for the buck. So Olympic is a 0.9-mile swim, a 24.5-mile bike, and then you end with a 5.2. There, it's realistic that. So it's hard to train for Ironmans and things like that. 20.3 halves. I'll definitely do another one. I want to do one before my kids were born, and I want my kids to see me go do another one and be there at the finish line and see Dad do hard.
Nice.
Important teacher.
Right.
But right now it's a lot of fun at that Olympic. It's challenging. You can't wake up and go do it. But it doesn't, I'm not having to train 3 or 4 hours a day to get prepared.
I want to speak to that really quick, and this will be the thing that you want to do in business. Never, not one time throughout the whole 70.3 did I think I was not going to finish. I knew I was going to finish. My body shut down at mile 63 and started convulsing and having seizures because, I wasn't trained. But I still finished.
You're your own worst enemy.
100%.
Whatever
let that base size determine how
your mind is going to happen is what happens. So, like with me, everybody told me that my goal's not achievable. Well, it is achievable. And I'm that guy that if you tell me it's not, I'm going to prove you wrong.
Well, yeah, Quinton, you need to double that goal. You need to go for 4 million. Let's go.
So right now, I'm on a $700,000 a year growth. So I grew 700K from 24 to 25. 25, I did 700K more than I did in 24. If I do my 2-1, it'll be 700K more than I did in 25. So I'm trying to maintain a $700,000 a year growth is what I'm trying to achieve. The building I'm adding, because in this area, nobody does the heavy line work. All right. So with that heavy line work, you can find some gravy. So I'm adding, my other building is going to be like,
you're going to make sure that the additional building handles the heavy line. That way your 4 or 3 bays don't get interrupted.
So that's my other building is for nothing but heavy line work. So we'll lop the gravy off of it here and then send it over there for the meat and potatoes,
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, if nobody's doing meat and potato work, then that car leaves the street and there's no gravy left. So if I can have a building that does the meat and potatoes and a building that does the gravy, then I've got the whole puzzle right here in one place.
Rob, what do you think? Bad idea? Good idea?
I think if he can make it work, then I think it's a good idea. I think sometimes when you start getting into that heavy line work, even if it's a $15,000 or $20,000 job, they think the whole car is going to be perfect. So now they've got an evap line that wasn't part of the scope that they're wanting you to customer serve them on and fix because they just put 20 grand in their car. So I do think you're opening a potential can of worms and for some headaches, but if that fits your model, then by all means.
The shop that I had from 2013 to 2021, when the car dealership next to me wanted my property and they showed me just how much they wanted it. So I left there. All we did was engine. That was my whole business model. We slung 300 engines a year. That's all we did day in, day out was engine jobs. And I was a shop that all the other shops sent their engines to. Well, now that's partially what's making me add the meat and potato building is I still have them shops sending me engine jobs. So, and it's transmission shops and,
Yeah. So that's not necessarily advice for anyone, right? That's advice because that works with your particular situation. You've got the leads already. You've got and now you have the additional space that won't interrupt the main revenue.
Do you do a labor matrix on top of I have that? Yeah. So, I feel like you're getting into that and you do a labor matrix, it starts to get good. And
I do a labor
person on the counter to quote those tickets because, we add in auxiliary parts, we add in a ton of shop supplies. To Rob's point, it's like you think it's gravy. The next thing you know, it's like you get $600 more stuff.
Every engine job I do has a $500 incidental fee on it. Every engine job I do has a 20% added to the book time. Every engine job I do, my normal labor rate's $175. If it's an engine job, it's $225 because nobody else wants to do it. And then oil changes build out separate. Everyone gets a BG code flush added to it as well. Every one of them gets spark plugs and all that stuff's built out individually on it. So our average engine job is a $15,000 engine job. I actually just finished up doing an H1 Hummer engine job. It was in the bay for 2 weeks while we did the engine job. The engine cost me $6,500. I billed the guy $39,000.
Okay.
Total parts expenditures in it. I was sitting right at $8,900. So to me, it wasn't bad because it was in the back bay and I had, it was a learning experience for my $15 hour minimum wage GS, So
So back to the whole skin conversation, and Quinton, you're giving great examples of how, okay, here's my situation. Here's what I have access to. Here's what I don't have access to. How am I going to scale with the pieces that I have in front of me, right? And I think that's part of it too, is to be thinking that through. What other nuggets? I think we should start to try to wrap up soon. What are the nuggets we want to kind of share that have been through your experience of growing to the point that you're at now, whether you're just 1 location, 4 locations, 5 locations, or you were 7, now you're 6, Rob? Did I have that right? You were 6, now you're 5.
Yeah.
Okay. So like, is there anything that we didn't talk about that if we're talking about how to scale quickly that we didn't cover? We've talked about health. We've talked about time suck. We've talked about focus on the margins. What else? What are we missing?
So be careful who you let whisper in your ear. Most coaches are amateurs teaching other amateurs. Find your professional coach that actually knows business, and make sure you read Adam Coffey's Private Equity Playbook.
Adam Coffey's Private Equity Playbook.
Yep.
Okay. Why that one?
He's got a great framework for how you can take chips off the table, if you will, because most entrepreneurs have 90% or more of their net worth tied up into their businesses. So you can still own your business, but you can sell a portion of it, so that way, you're not 100% in, illiquid into that asset, and that ultimately you can create generational wealth. Because at the end of the day, more than likely your kids aren't going to want to do this, but hopefully you want to take care of your kids.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole nother conversation that I really started to wrap my mind around when my son was like 1 and 2. I was just like, okay, every generation just provides more wealth, but does that actually provide, we need to provide them with more gumption, more backbone.
100%.
They don't need more wealth necessarily. They need more cojones.
More discipline.
More discipline, more.
And one more book, Discipline Equals
more
Freedom.
Faith, more everything, right?
A great book is by Jocko Willink, Discipline Equals Freedom. Chris, write that one down.
Okay.
If you haven't read a hardback book in years, because we didn't like reading when we were in school, and when we got out of school, we said we're never going to read again. If this is the first and only book you read this year, Discipline Equals Freedom by Jocko, I've probably purchased well over 40 copies of it. I give them out to all kinds of people. It's a game changer, and it'll definitely start getting you dialed in.
Well, that's another good book is The Art of War. Have you ever read The Art of War? That's another good book.
Another head shaking, yes. The okay, so where does everyone stand on paper versus Audible?
I do Audible because I struggle with reading. I always have. It's just something that I've never done well at. And with Audible, to me, when I'm driving, it's a waste of time. All right.
I got to tell you, people get upset when I get out a paper book and start while I'm driving. They get upset about it. I don't know why.
You put on the auto, you put on your book, you listen to your book, you drive down the road. That way you're not wasting that time. I got 30-minute drive to work every day.
But
so that's an hour a day waste.
If I can add to that, though, I am 100% a visual learner. If I write someone's name down, write their phone number down, I can actually recall it in my brain. If I don't do that, I am screwed. So for me, I have to read it. I have to see the words have to enter my brain. Hearing them doesn't stick at all, man. So yeah, I think it's personality.
I find that I have to replay it. I find that when I'm listening to the Audible, I do prefer the Audible over the paper, but because I am more visually in tune, like you, Chris, I find that I have to listen to it 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, that's what I would have to do as well for it to stick.
And but I actually will take waterproof earbuds in the shower with me these days. So I'm listening. Whether I'm pretending to work out and for my triathlon or just taking a shower, I'm listening.
I mean, there's something said, reading a paper book, by the time you're done with it, it is very hard, Quinton. That's the point. It's not easy. But things that are not easy are obviously usually worth it. And when you're done with that book, put it up somewhere where that it'll be a trophy that you actually read a real paper book. Because there's something proud of it. But like you said, don't waste the time in your car listening to the same Kesha song you used to listen to in high school. Make sure you're definitely using your car as your university.
All right.
But
Rob's definitely younger than me.
All
All
right.
right.
anyway,
Crosby, Stills.
Gap in the Gain is the most recent book that I listened to.
Yeah.
You know,
Do you remember who wrote it? Gap in the Gain? Okay. All right. Now, if you had a paper copy, you might be able to remember because the author's name would be right
my
there.
wife has a paper copy.
So,
of it.
speaking of Brad's, I've got a book up here. There's by Brad Hutchinson, I believe, called Digital Cocaine. And so, maybe the paper is the answer to that, right? What about you, Brad? Are you a paper versus Audible?
Yeah, I was going to say, I challenge anybody listening that one thing that I did, and it wasn't easy because I feel like you just get lackadaisical, is I'm big on paper and I'm big on nighttime reading, and it really helps me sleep. And I think a lot of people, I mean, we do it. My wife and I get into some shows here or there, but we both kind of committed to each other, like, hey, if you're feeling it or whatnot, or at least 3 nights or more a week, like we should just be going to bed and reading books and turn the lights off and hitting it. So I would challenge anybody, if you're consistently, your routine is lay down, grab the remote, turn on the TV, sit and look at that screen until you fall asleep, just give it a shot. Give it a shot, and I bet you'll start sleeping.
Yeah. I think that's a good tip. I think that, all around a good plan on discipline. Listen, thank you guys for being a part of this podcast. Like, we could probably keep going. We could probably have an episode 2 on how to scale. But I think we covered a lot of things. I think this was a worthwhile piece. And the whole goal of the Garage Grid podcast is to be helping as many shop owners as possible. And so if you're listening in, be a part of that community by liking and subscribing and sharing this episode, and not just this episode, but the entire podcast. We're dropping episodes every Tuesday and Thursday. And then I may have mentioned it, maybe it was the pre-recording. We've got a Facebook group that we're trying to grow a little bit to continue the conversations. And sometimes it's nice to have different communities that you're bouncing ideas on. So there's a Garage Grid podcast Facebook group where we continue these conversations. So if you want to push back, or if you want to actually add to something that's been said, or if your name's been mentioned and you want to say, I don't know, thank you, or hey, they spelled my name wrong, I don't know, feel free to jump out to the Garage Grid podcast Facebook group and add that comment. But thank you guys for being a part of this.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
At the very least, guys, if you're listening to this, take the next step, or if you want to scale fast, take 10. Right?
Right.
Okay. Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
everybody.
Thanks for all your time, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you guys.